What's up everyone, my name's PlatinumHowler, coach of your Coquitlam Red Gyarados, and today I am bringing you round 1 of the IBL D-League playoffs versus Sharpedo43 and his Sylmar Sylveons. You can see his team on the right side of the screen, and it should look familiar with his two Z users being Dragonite and Houndoom. The reason I say it should look familiar is because we just battled Sharpedo43 2 weeks ago, and unfortunately he handed us our biggest loss of the season, and that was the week that cost us any chance at getting a bye past this round of the playoffs. But since he did beat us in that game, we have to play him again in this extra round of playoffs and look for some revenge against him. You may recall when I played him 2 weeks ago, my upload for that battle didn't have a team builder at the beginning, and that's because I knew before uploading that video that I would be playing Sharpedo43 again in the playoffs, so I didn't want to reveal too much of my strategies ahead of this playoff matchup. And as you can see, I'm bringing pretty much the exact same team as I did in the battle 2 weeks ago. Now you might think, well, you kind of got bodied in that game. Why would you bring the same team rather than and not switch things up at all? Well, to that I say, in the battle 2 weeks ago, I played like crap. I think I had a great team to take him on, and I just didn't play well enough, and that's the reason why I lost. So I still think this team has a good matchup against him, and it should still, I'm confident, I feel strongly that this team can win and help propel me to the semifinals. So I've got this set up in the order of fewest changes, basically. So I have Skarmory up first because Skarmory, there are absolutely no changes from the Skarmory that I brought in the battle 2 weeks ago. It's max defense with the exact same move set and the exact same held item. And this is here basically to just take on his physical attackers such as Alolan Muck, Mega Gallade, and Dragonite. Dragonite, we will have to watch out for Z moves. It does have the ability to run Electrium Z, which would be scary for my Skarmory as well as my Gyarados, but my Gyarados is bulky enough so that it can survive any Z move from Dragonite, even an Electrium, even a Gigavolt Havoc from Thunder Punch. It can survive that from full HP, and Mold Breaker will hit through the Multiscale and OHKO the Dragonite with an Ice Fang. This is a little tiny bit different. It's the same move set from the game 2 weeks ago, but I took some EVs, a few EVs out of HP and defense so that I could still live the hit from Dragonite, but then put that extra investment into my attack because in that game I just fell short of KOing a Tapu Fini and a Gallade. So if I had rocks up, and now with this extra attack investment in those situations, I might be able to actually get the KOs on those mons. So next we have the Dhelmise, and this is where we failed last time. I tried getting kind of cute and bringing a Misty Seed Dhelmise to switch into the Tapu Fini. That basically acts as an Assault Vest when it comes in on Misty Terrain. But there was no reason for me to run Misty Seed because I didn't have a status move on the set. The only reason Misty Seed would have been good to take hits better from Fini is if I had Synthesis over one of my other moves, but these coverage moves hit his team very, very hard. I have enough speed. I have even more speed on my Dhelmise this time than I did the last time, so that I can hopefully be faster than a Alolan Muck and hit that with a very powerful Earthquake. And then, of course, Rapid Spin is to get the sticky webs away that we weren't able to get rid of last time, and that was basically the reason why we lost the game. On top of not playing the best with Mega Gyarados. So this time we adjusted the EV spread a little bit. We have Assault Vest over Misty Seed, but we have the same 4 moves. Next we have the Raikou. The Raikou, again, is the same EV spread. It's the same held item, but instead of Hidden Power Ice on the Raikou, we have Extra Sensory. Because I did reveal that I had Hidden Power Ice on my set in the first game. So if he expects that to be my best way to hit the Nidoking and brings a Yachi Berry on it, and then when I think I can KO it with an HP Ice, and in fact I can't, and then he hits me back with an Earth Power, that's not going to be fun at all. So I want to make sure that I can KO that thing. Of course, Extra Sensory is going to be doing even more damage to the Nidoking than Hidden Power Ice, because, you know, it's a more powerful attack. So if it's at about 80%, like if it takes any form of chip damage at all, even at neutral special attack, Extra Sensory should be able to pick that thing off. I don't even need a Calm Mind to KO it. But yeah, basically after one Calm Mind and Dragonite takes a round of rocks and a Rocky Helmet hit from the Skarmory, or 2 rounds of rocks, then everything on his team should die to this at +1, including the Mega Gallade. See, the trade-off here with getting rid of Hidden Power Ice is that I can't kill the Dragonite at +1 even after he takes rocks. Thunderbolt is only doing about 55 to 60% to that thing. So I'm gonna need some extra chip on that if I want to pick that off. But I do have quite a few things on my team that can hit the Dragonite. I have ice coverage on my Mega Gyarados, and I also have ice coverage on my Latias. So same EV spread as last time, same held item. This is a bit of a funky mixed Latias set because I would need to be able to switch into Nidoking, but then not let things like Jirachi and Alolan Muck come in for free, basically. So Earthquake was a 2-hit KO on the Jirachi last time because it was not a max HP invested Jirachi. If he brings that same set again, that will be nice, so we can get even more damage off on that thing. And it should be a 2-hit KO on most variants of Alolan Muck. First time I had Outrage over Ice Beam, and so when I was thinking about minor adjustments I could make with this set, I was thinking, okay, I can switch Outrage to Draco Meteor. Sure, I might have a chance of missing, but at least if I need to click that move to KO the Dragonite, then I won't be locked into Outrage and have to stay in future turns against something like the Alolan Muck, for example. But then I realized, Latias gets Ice Beam. Why would I not run Ice Beam when it does almost as much to Dragonite as Draco Meteor? It does enough to the point where after any chip damage that the Dragonite takes, it should drop to an Ice Beam no matter what. Draco Meteor actually does more damage than Ice Beam, but like I said, like Ice Beam still does enough so that I don't have to risk a potential miss, as you know, I'd be risking a miss if I were to click Draco Meteor instead of Ice Beam. So, I mean, either way, that move slot was basically dedicated to hitting the Dragonite, so I didn't need Draco Meteor for anything else. So I think Ice Beam is the better call here overall. So up until this point, things have been pretty similar, very, very minor changes, if there are changes at all. But the one set on this team that is completely different from the first set is this Sylveon. One problem that I identified is the Tapu Fini being able to taunt. So it can taunt my Skarmory. There's nothing has changed about that. If my Skarmory's in and it tries to set rocks against the Tapu Fini, it very well can't. Like, there's a very good chance that it won't be able to. But ideally, I would like other things on my team in against the Tapu Fini. So if he wants to try and taunt my Sylveon and prevent me from clicking Wish, he's going to be disappointed because I'm going to outspeed his Tapu Fini before he can click Taunt and get a Wish off, and get my Wish off first, and then I can make the appropriate switching into something like the Delmise or the Raikou. the Raikou, I can start setting Calm Minds up against the Tapu Fini, and the Dhelmise is just going to threaten his whole team with very powerful offensive attacks. So we have enough speed to outspeed his entire team, barring Choice Scarfers. We have just enough speed for a max speed Mega Gallade. We can hit that thing with a powerful Hyper Voice. We can outspeed a Dragonite that's not Dragon Dance boosted and go for a Hyper Voice against that thing, potentially break its multi-scale for the likes of Raikou and Latias. We have Shadow Ball. If I can switch this in, I can potentially switch this into a close combat and resist. And then if I predict a switch on the next turn, I can go for a Shadow Ball. That's still going to hit the Gallade super effectively. And if his defenses are lowered, then it's going to do even more. It might be in range, depending on, you know, how the game plays out, to die from this Shadow Ball. In the last move, I could have gone for Psyshock on the last move, and that would have been basically only for the Nidoking, but it was only doing like 55-60%. So any chip damage on the Nidoking plus like any other move that on my team would be enough to KO the Nidoking. So I didn't feel that Psyshock on Sylveon was worth it. Instead, we're going to rock out with the Magic Coat. And this is a move that I considered on the Sylveon set in the first game, but I didn't end up going with it. The nice thing about Magic Coat is if he leads with any of his hazard setters like Seismitoad or Galvantula or Jirachi and tries to set his hazards on turn 1, and I decide to lead with this Sylveon, Magic Coat will bounce back the hazards. So Sticky Web on his side of the field means that he cannot outspeed my whole team with Nidoking, because Nidoking's, even if webs are on my side, if they're on his side, then we're still on a level playing field. Being able to bounce back his Stealth Rocks and save me a turn with Skarmory that I might have needed to set up rocks, now instead I can just come in with Skarmory and click Roost to keep myself healthy, click Brave Bird to get some damage off on something, or click Whirlwind to phase his team around. And if I phase him into Dragonite earlier than he wants to break his multi-scale, that's going to be very, very big. So, and the other nice thing about Magic Coat is if I click it, because it's an increased priority move, I will not reveal that I'm a Choice Scarf set. Obviously, I'll be locked into Magic Coat, so I'll have to switch out in the next turn. But at least he probably won't be suspicious of a Choice Scarf Sylveon at that point. That's going to be the team. Hopefully it's good enough for us so we can avenge our bad loss 2 weeks ago to Sharpedo 43. And I'll see you right back with the battle. We are back with the battle, and we see that my opponent's team looks very similar to the first time that we battled, except this time he has the Alolan Muck over the Galvantula, which I think is a good call by him. Sticky Webs worked for him last time around because I wasn't able to spin them away, but I have made some changes to the team to allow me to get rid of those webs easier. So having Galvantula basically just there to set them up and then die pretty quick is probably not the best option this time around. Alolan Muck being there is going to be difficult to deal with as it always is. And it's another Mon that we have to scout out its set for, because we're going to have to weaken it considerably for Raikou to be able to put in the work with a Calm Mind or two. So in team preview, I was kind of at a loss for my lead in this game because last game he had the Galvantula and he led with it, of course, but this time he doesn't have it, so I'm not too sure what he's going to lead with. So in the end, I'm going to decide to lead with my Gyarados so I can get an Intimidate off against anything that he wants to lead with. And then if the matchup isn't great, I can switch out accordingly, and whatever comes in for me won't be taking as much damage because of the Intimidate. And I'm maybe hoping that I pressure him to bring in the Fini immediately, but here I am going to make the middle ground switch into Dhelmise. Dhelmise is a good matchup against the Jirachi, as well as the Tapu Fini. He is going to stay in and decide to Thunder Wave me in case I decided to set up my Gyarados. He doesn't want it to get too speedy, too out of hand. And that's unfortunate because I built this Delmise to try and outspeed an Alolan Muck, so now I know for sure that I won't be able to do that. All I can hope is to hit it with an Earthquake on the switch here, but on the very first turn, I am fully paralyzed and cannot get any damage off against this Muck. So now I'm going to have to switch out and bring in my Skarmory and then hope to get my rocks up. He goes for a Poison Jab, which I'm not really sure why he made that play, because Knockoff was always the better play if he had it on this set, especially if he anticipated a Skarmory switch in. So I'm kind of thinking, oh, maybe he doesn't have Knockoff, or I'm not really too sure, but I do get my rocks up in this turn as he goes for Taunt. I outsped him the first turn, but the second turn, he's going to outspeed me and going for a Thunder Punch, revealing that this is a speed tie, so even if my Delmise wasn't paralyzed, I wouldn't have been able to outspeed this Muck. And this is horrible for me. He gets a Thunder Punch para on my Skarmory, and I'm going to get fully paralyzed on the initial turn that Muck paralyzes me with the Thunder Punch, and this next turn when I am taunted. So I tried to go for Brave Bird twice just to get some damage off on the Muck. So that was 3 turns in a row that I attempted to go for damage on the Muck that I didn't get any damage whatsoever. So I'm just really not impressed right now with the hacks against me. I'm not letting it frazzle me though. Yes, it's very frustrating, but there's nothing I can do about it. I just have to stay focused, and I can't start to go on tilt or anything like that. So I know the Finny comes in, and I know that it's going to defog my rocks away, and because I know for sure that I will never outspeed his Muck, and that I've seen Taunt on that, I won't be able to set up rocks against it again. Also, good piece of information, because we saw Taunt, I know that he is not Assault Vest, so Raikou should be able to do a decent amount of damage to it, especially if it has as much speed investment as it appears to have. But as my Delmise comes in on the Finny, I try making an aggressive switch, predicting either a Dragonite switch in on an Earthquake or a Muck switch in on a Power Whip or Shadow Claw, and I'll get an Intimidate on either one of those, and I can start doing damage to his team. But instead, he switches in the Jirachi, which is weak to 2 out of the 3 moves on my Delmise set. And he had already shown to U-turn out of my Delmise the first turn when I brought it in, so I'm not sure what he was thinking there. I'm not sure what he was predicting, but my Gyarados comes in, and you know what? I'm just going to Mega Evolve now, because first turn he tried to Thunder Wave me, and now Misty Terrain is up, so if he tried to do that again, he won't be able to, and I'll get a big Earthquake off against the Jirachi. But he does make the smart play and U-turn into his Tapu Fini. As this turn, he's going to go for a Taunt. Not really sure why he made that play. Delmise was my pretty obvious switch. Even if I wanted to go into Skarmory to set rocks up again, he could have just clicked Taunt on the turn afterwards. He definitely should have got some damage there, but yep, the Muck is going to come in again, and for the 4th time in a row, I am fully paralyzed with both of my Skarmory and my Delmise. So, I haven't been able to get off any damage against this Muck because of the paralysis, and now my Delmise is going to go down, which hit 5 out of the 6 Mons on his team super effectively. It hit his team extremely hard, and I didn't get a single attack off because of the full paralysis, so not really too happy about that. But now, basically, I want to force either the Tapu Fini to come in and take a lot of damage from a boosted Earthquake, or I want to force this Muck to stay in and go for damage against me, so that I can weaken it for the Raikou later in the game. He goes for Thunder Punch there, not enough to knock me out, but as we see, he is going to be able to live this Earthquake because he is a Shuckleberry Muck. So I'll give it to him. That was pretty good prep. But as you see how much damage that did, 4 times I got fully paralyzed on my Delmise and my Skarmory when trying to get attacks off against his team. Any bit of damage against that Muck, and that Muck goes down to that Earthquake, and I get a lot more damage off against his team. Yeah, just a really, really, really frustrating start to this game. And all the more frustrating, why is he saving this Muck at such low health? I switch it in on... I switch in my Latias to knock it out with an Earthquake, make this safe play just in case Ice Beam wasn't going to knock it out. I could have gone for Ice Beam or Dragon Pulse to knock out the Muck, and he risks his Dragonite switching in on it, and it's immune to an Earthquake, so his multi-scale stays intact. So then I'm like, screw this. I'm staying in and going for Zen Headbutt, trying to get a flinch on him so that if he really doesn't think that I have a move for this Dragonite and I get the flinch, I can go for Ice Beam on the next turn and knock him out. So, I mean, I'm just not sure what... It's just so frustrating being so behind in this game, and then him making plays that just don't make any sense to me. I'm just like, it's really hard to keep my composure and keep my focus in this game with all the bullshit that's gone on so far. But I'm doing it nonetheless. I'm staying focused. I'm not going to tilt myself out of this playoff race. But he actually just... I switched my Skarmory, and basically all my Skarmory is good for at this point is getting Rocky Helmet damage off against his physical attackers because I'm paralyzed. Thankfully, I whirlwind him out into the best thing that I possibly could have, because now I'm down 3-6, but because I can bring Raikou in against this Tapu Fini, the Dragonite has taken a little bit of damage. The Muck is really weakened, so I do have a bit of an opening here to set up a Calm Mind and potentially win the game. Despite all of the bullshit that I've had to go through, I still have a chance to win with a full health Raikou here at +1/+1. So he's going to switch in the Dragonite, and I am not sure if the Thunderbolt is going to be able to kill him. I don't have HP Ice on the set, but I have to go for it. And thankfully, it does knock him out. I do believe that was a damage roll to knock him out, but we needed that roll very, very badly. So now, we saw this Nidoking come in briefly before it was whirlwinded out. I'm thinking there's a good chance it might be Scarfed, but I have to risk that he's not and go for Extra Sensory. And thankfully, he is not Scarfed, and we knock him out with an Extra Sensory. So now, we're down to a 3 versus 4 advantage. And the Gallade is going to come in, and this is a 56.3% chance to knock him out with a +1 Expert Belt boosted Shadow Ball. Because we weren't able to keep our rocks up, it is not a guaranteed KO. We have to hope that we get this damage roll here, and if we do, we win the game. But as you can see, he lives on 2 HP, and it's going to knock us out with a close combat. And at this point, the game is over. I cannot beat the rest of his team with my Sylveon and Latias. They're both at full health, but my Sylveon is Scarfed. So I bring the Sylveon in here, and I'm going to get a kill against this Gallade. He's definitely not expecting me to be Scarfed. He's probably expecting to get some good damage off here. But I do knock him out with the Hyper Voice. I could have gone for Shadow Ball to knock it out, but Shadow Ball is not doing anything to Tapu Fini. Might not even knock out the Alolan Muck from the range that it's at, and is barely even 3-hit KO, if at all, against this Jirachi. So it just wasn't doing enough damage to the rest of his team. So I just knock him out with the Hyper Voice. And Latias is actually going to get in for free here because he misses a Thunder Wave, but you know, too little, too late. There's nothing, that's cool, but like, I still, like, it's not enough to make up for all of the hacks in the beginning of the game. So I am able to outspeed him and get an Earthquake off, but it does less than 50%, which shows that this is definitely a much more HP invested Jirachi than the first game, because the first game that when I hit this Jirachi with an Earthquake, it did over 50%, closer to 60. So, with the second Thunder Wave, he's going to be able to paralyze my Latias and U-turn out, and it does just over half. It looks like it's doing it about exactly 50%. So he switches in the Muck to sack it off to an Earthquake, and now is going to bring the Jirachi back in, and I'm hoping that I can get a favorable damage roll maybe, and live this second U-turn, and then when the Tapu Fini comes in, I can get Energy Ball damage off against it, which is exactly what I did, but I am not able to live the U-turn. So Tapu Fini now comes in, and my Sylveon at full health, Choice Scarfed, is the last Pokemon. I can't, there's no way that I can beat this Fini and the Jirachi. I may be able to 1v1 the Tapu Fini, depending on how much damage he's doing and how much damage I'm doing, and whether he gets special attack drops with Moonblast. But that does a good amount of damage, the first Hyper Voice. And his Moonblast is doing less than 25%, at least that first one is. So if only he didn't have a Jirachi in the back that could guaranteed beat my Sylveon after this Tapu Fini were to go down. I mean, the only two moves we have seen from Jirachi at this point are Thunder Wave and U-turn. So I guess there's a chance that he doesn't have a move to hit my Sylveon. And maybe if I get a crit or two against this Fini and the Jirachi, there might be somewhat of a chance if he has some unsets in the back. But we're just spamming Hyper Voice and Moonblast until one of us goes down. I get special attack dropped on 2 consecutive turns, so I am actually not going to be able to 1v1 this Fini because of that. I get 2 more Hyper Voices off here before I go down, so his Moonblast is going to be a 5-hit KO, but that is going to be enough to do me in. So that is our season. The season comes to a close in a very, very frustrating manner. I don't want to comment too much on this game, if I'm being honest. From my perspective, you guys watching this can make up your own opinion about how I played or who deserves to win this game or whatnot. But from my perspective, this game was total bullshit. The hacks in the beginning set me back tremendously, and I'm honestly proud of myself for not losing my cool after the shit that I had to go through at the beginning of this game. He gets a 10% paralysis on my Skarmory, and that Skarmory gets fully parried 2 turns in a row. My Dhelmise gets hit by a Thunder Wave, which, you know, that's not hacks in itself, but then 2 consecutive full paralysis is 100% hacks, when any bit of damage on that muck would have meant that it went down to my Gyarados there. But even after all of that, I have a chance to win the game with Raikou at the end if I get a good damage roll against the Mega Gallade. And I don't. I get a low-ish roll. I mean, it was basically a coin flip as to whether or not I knocked him out. The roll was just a hair in my favor. But you know, it is what it is. Things that I can't control. Basically everything that I couldn't control went against me in this game. And as a result, the Coquitlam Red Gyarados have been eliminated from the IBL D-League playoffs. That's enough about this game. For now, we will put a wrap on this season of the IBL D-League. By far, it definitely was not one of my best Draft League seasons. But despite that, I still had quite a bit of fun with this team. And I'm very thankful that I was given the opportunity to compete in this league by Brendan, aka Dark Devil 26. He's the commissioner of the IBL. And also, I'm very thankful to the rest of the IBL admin crew for putting on a good show and hosting a good league for us. Honestly, at the beginning of this season, I think I set the bar pretty low for myself. I said that I just wanted to go with finish with a positive record and make playoffs, and I did that. But I think if I had set the bar higher for myself, like if I had said I want to go 7-2 and get a bye to the semifinals of the playoffs, I think I definitely could have done that. Because there were 2 games this season that I played very poorly and feel that I should have won. The first matchup against Sharpedo43 being chief among them, and then also way back in week 3 against Manbird, I did not play well in that game either and felt like I should have won. So going forward, if and when I'm competing in future Wi-Fi leagues, I would like to try and set the bar higher for myself and to really challenge myself to perform better. But at the same time, I don't want to overextend myself and kind of crash because I'm putting too much effort into these leagues. Because at the end of the day, there are more important things to me than succeeding in Pokemon draft leagues, and as I'm sure is the case for everybody else watching this video. It's also now time to say goodbye to the OG Coquitlam Red Gyarados roster. It was very nice knowing you, and I had a lot of fun building with this team and using this team, especially Mega Gyarados, hands down the MVP, the mascot Mega of our team. That Mon in particular will be dearly missed, so much so that I may just have to draft it again before Gen 8 is upon us. Other thanks I have to throw out there. Thanks again to Brendan and the IBL admins, as well as the entire IBL community, the other coaches participating in the league. Thank you for involving myself in your community. I've really enjoyed being a part of it, and I hope I can continue to be a part of it. Thank you to the people that genned my teams every week for me, mainly Ruppy, but then, of course, Biggest of Daves came through for me one week. I think it was week 7. So I appreciate you guys helping me out in that department. If not for you guys, I would not be able to play in this league. Also, a massive thank you to TJ for being a technological genius and getting these beautiful Citra replays for me every week for my videos. They really take the overall quality of my videos to a whole other level, and I'm so thankful to have him in my corner. And lastly, thanks to my modestly sized front office. And thanks to the front office members for occasionally popping in there and giving me some cool set ideas for these games. I do the vast majority of the team building by myself, but I do appreciate when I get stuck with a certain build, when I can get some feedback from my trusty friends in the front office. Speaking of front office, I mean, I don't force anybody to contribute in there, but if you're watching and you would want nothing more than to join my front office and help me build for my league matches, then send me a message on Discord and maybe I can hook you up. We'll see. For now, all we can do is wait and see who is going to take the IBL D-League Championship. And we'll have to wait and see whether or not we get invited back to participate in the next season of the IBL Main League, aka IBL Season 6, even though we didn't have as much success in the D-League as we would have hoped. I would love to be invited back, so I'll keep my fingers crossed. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel for more Draft League content in the future. As the IBL D-League comes to a close, we have a brand new league starting up later this week. This Friday will be the Week 1 battle of the PCL D-League against Dreadful Dragonite, another coach that we haven't played before. And we will play a whole bunch of new players that we have never played before in this new season of the PCL D-League. So I'm very much looking forward to that, and I hope you are too. So until then, we will see you later.